paying attention to Donald Trump in any way, shape, or form helps Donald Trump. The only way to defeat Donald Trump is to pay attention to America. Like if I'm Gavin Newsom or any of these people that are like, angling for this job, Pritzker in Illinois is another one. The more that those aspirants ignore Trump and focus on America, the better they will do, is my opinion.
All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Sanity. Please subscribe to this podcast. I am Alisyn Camerota along with Dave Briggs. Dave, we have such a great guest for everybody today. People will remember Dylan Ratigan because he's memorable. He had a long tenure at Bloomberg, at CNBC. He had a show on MSNBC, and he's always unvarnished, I guess I would say,
unscripted,
unfiltered, and which makes him really fun. He's super smart. It's really fun to talk to him. And I thought it was so fascinating. People will hear why he thinks that Trump is a right-wing socialist.
Yeah. And he knows the economy. He is truly one of the more knowledgeable people about the financial and business world. And that was an interesting take. He talked about, what he thinks Democrats should do to fight Trump. He even introduced us to a line of Italian sneakers, which are something to be seen in and of themselves. Yeah, he is unique. And he also reveals who he watches on cable news, or does he watch it at all?
Yeah, that will be fascinating to hear who he still thinks is doing good work. And he teaches us an Italian dirty word. So you really get a lot in this podcast. We are so excited to be joined today by my old friend, Dylan Ratigan, who is going to answer the question, has cable news made the world worse off? Dylan, great to see you.
Very nice to see you both. As you know, I was a bit offended when you left me for another man, but he's handsome, he's charming, and his name starts with the letter D. And so
you'll allow it.
I believe I don't have the authority. I think it's just more for me to make peace with reality, and I have come to terms. So it's nice to see you both. Hi, David.
Hey,
Thank you.
I'm down with the threesome. Okay.
We're now part of a throuple,
Aren't we all?
throuple, which I appreciate. But Dylan, you've always been this way. You're quite territorial about me, though I do have lots of other TV husbands.
I know.
I guess
the reality is we never even got off the ground. I think maybe it's sort of like, it's like love lost.
That is
it's
what
like
it is.
it's like if I'd ever had the chance to work with you for more than 3 days in a back room for a pilot, I probably wouldn't even like you so much. But
That's
now
right.
I'm connected to you project the fantasy onto the people that you never really know. So
well, I really am that great. I mean, you still would. You actually like me more if we'd ever worked together. But Dave, Dylan and I did a pilot together, and so we've had this, unconsummated work marriage since then, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Interesting. I'd like to hear some of these stories as we continue on. But
it was a back room at Time Warner Center in the winter of 2014, Dave.
Wow.
I forgot when it was, but that's so true. It was great.
By none other than our good friend Jeff Zucker and the shareholders of the Time Warner Corporation.
I'm so glad you're setting the table for this because I just read this article by John Malone that we're going to get to, who, has literally laid the groundwork, literally in terms of the cable wiring, as well as figuratively in terms of his investments for Fox, for CNN, for Live Nation, for SiriusXM, and to read about him in the New York Times today about how he thinks that the world is worse off for what he's done.
Mm-hmm. I mean, shame on him, honestly. I mean, it's not to say that it's right or wrong, but when you're that deep in it, to make that much money and to build something in that way, and then to try to come out, it's like, it reminds me of, this is really dating myself. It's really before all of our time, but there's a famous book written by a man whose name I don't remember right now, but it'll come back to me, who was the defense secretary during the Vietnam War and famous defense secretary.
McNamara?
Yeah, McNamara, exactly. Roger. And he wrote a book basically saying what a mistake. It's like he did the Vietnam War. And then obviously it was not a terribly successful undertaking. And then spend his time talking about what a terrible decision the Vietnam War was. So I have as much time for Malone commenting on the liabilities of cable news from the back of his boat off the coast of Bodrum as I do for McNamara talking about the
Yeah,
war.
it's a little bit
I
like
hear
Josh Hawley coming out and just ripping the big beautiful bill that
Exactly.
he just signed. But
Exactly.
in the premise of it, I mean, did cable news wreck this country?
It certainly didn't help. I mean, I think that it's always one of those things where to blame one thing is always the convenient thing, right? I think that is cable news, is it a positive or negative force? Clearly a negative force for the simple reason that the way that the business model is based on filtering for the most extreme and provocative pieces of information and triggering as many people as possible to pay attention to that information. I would just say that the Facebook algorithm optimized it better. It's kind of the same thing. It's like, where do I get, if you don't like cable news, wait till you get a load of Facebook and Instagram. I mean, in terms of optimizing for lowest common denominator, most primitive, most psychologically degrading content, cable news opened the door and Meta, cleared the yard as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that I see it as an evolution or devolution, which was, as we all know, because we've been in it for a long time, journalism had this promise of a public service that we were going to illuminate, we were going to educate, we shine a light on, voices that aren't normally heard. And that's true. I mean, that is journalism at its best. But then, of course, it gets married with profits and with ratings. And so at some point, you need to make the most compelling product.
At the
And
lowest cost.
what, Dylan?
At the lowest cost. So you're doing less journalism and more talk. Like if I can keep everybody in the room, I have less field reporters. I'm just saying you have an incentive to spend less resources and create more provocative content.
I'm
Sorry,
glad you said that because that's the answer. That's where we went wrong. Because I have been at the intersection of really good work. I'm thinking of when I worked for Ted Koppel. So Ted Koppel did really important journalism, capital J journalism, but of course they needed to make it compelling because of course they needed to sell ads, but they pulled it off. Okay. But then I think you're right that at some point when they decided to start belt tightening, when all these networks, and I don't know if John Malone was driving this charge in any way as an investor, but when they started belt tightening and it's like, okay, well, let's not go. We don't have money for travel anymore. We don't have money to go to these far flung places. Let's just sit around a table and debate things with extreme voices. That's where I think that it really added to the toxicity that we're in.
I agree. I mean, the thing is, so what, right? So where to from here? I guess is the thing, and where I kind of come down is we're now in a post-information era because you can criticize anything, and I admire you guys getting together to do this Sanity podcast, at least in its branding at its outset, attempting to sort of imply some level of logic or rationality, but at least you're making an effort to send a signal in that way. But I really think, because of the phone, we all have these phones and everybody's getting, Dave has his feed, Alisyn has her feed, I have my feed, your children have different, like none of us are even, there is no shared pool of information.
No. And for a frame of reference, where do you get yours? Are you still
Twitter,
watching any cable
Twitter,
news? If
Twitter,
so, who?
only Twitter.
No
Why
cable
Twitter?
news.
I
But
watch
why
no
Twitter?
television.
Dylan, Twitter seems like one of the most toxic choices. Why Twitter?
Because my Twitter feed was built during my most active part of my news career when I was at NBC. I followed all the right accounts as far as I'm concerned, meaning I follow all the major news agencies. So I've got the FT feed, I've got the New York Times feed, I've got the BBC feed, I've got the Al Jazeera feed, I've got the Fox feed, I've got the CNN feed. So I just feel like I have all of the reporters and all of the news agencies that cover everything all being consolidated constantly in front of my screen. So I'm not letting the Twitter algorithm populate my screen with whatever is sort of the most provocative. I'm following the curated list of accounts that I've been following forever. And I basically always feel like I always know what's happening, whether it's in the stock market or in politics or whatever.
Why don't you watch cable news? Do you trust any of it?
No, nothing. Absolutely
Why?
none of it.
Why?
The word cable news makes my skin crawl. And if I walk into a room where somebody, I'm like, would you please turn that off?
Why? I mean, but what is it exactly that's causing your hives?
Because everything about whatever's happening on that screen is somebody trying to generate an elevated emotion to create engagement, to get people to keep watching, that has nothing to do with information. So whether
I
it's a
disagree with that, Dylan. I disagree with that. I think you're going overboard. I don't think that our friends at CNN are trying to elicit an emotion from people. I do think at Fox there was a big outrage machine for sure, and it was trying to outrage the audience. But at CNN, I do think that they think they're sharing information. They are trying to gather research. They are trying to gather facts and share information. I mean,
I disagree.
why?
Because I feel like that whether it's at CNN, MS, Fox, wherever, that ultimately the talent, even if you're the biggest host in the room, you're Anderson Cooper or you're Sean Hannity, that still the content stack is set by the executives at the network, not by the talent at the network. I say to Alisyn here, we're going to do Epstein, we're going to do Putin. Like, you get to decide how or what you want to say about the topic, but you don't get to decide what the topic is. And then the talent can be like, well, I also want to talk about, the dog show. And then it's like, okay, well, we'll do your thing too, buddy. My perception is not that the topics are chosen in a sinister way. It's that the topics are chosen based on the things that are the most activating at that moment. Jeff Zucker is a genius, maybe an evil genius. He's good for me, but he's a genius at being able to stack subject selection in a way and program subject selection, whether it was at the Today Show, whether it was when he was running NBC, or so Roger Ailes has the same credit, different angle, but stacking subjects and programming in a way that creates the highest probability of the largest audience for the longest period of time.
Okay, one cable news host. I'm making you watch him or her. Who is it? You can't name one. I love it.
Dave, you're crazy.
If I have to watch anybody, I'll tell you, I'm gonna answer honestly. I'm sorry. Don't hold it against me. But if I'm gonna answer, I'm gonna watch anybody. But then I can't do it. I try sometimes. I don't really. But I would watch Anderson because I feel like at least Anderson has been at it for so long. He's like, for me, I can't watch the primetime hosts on Fox. I can't watch the primetime hosts on MSNBC. The MS architecture is so specifically constantly grinding on why Trump bad. Of course, Trump's bad. Like that could have told you that 30 years ago. So it doesn't get me anywhere. I have a soft spot for Anderson.
I thought it was interesting. John Malone, John Malone is often seen
Alisyn
as
is horrified by my answer, by the way. She's like, yeah, okay.
No, I'm not. I mean, Anderson, who can quibble with Anderson? Anderson is incredibly experienced. But let's shift gears. So just to remind people, Dylan, you were at CNBC famously. You had a great run at CNBC and
Bloomberg. I started at Bloomberg when I was 22.
Right, Bloomberg, yes. So, I mean, do you consider is business news?
I am a
your wheelhouse?
financial journalist gone bad.
Okay, very good.
Sure. I mean, I'm a 15-year financial journalist who did 3 years of political journalism, but I'm a finance journalist for sure.
Got it. Okay, so Dave, what's your most pressing thing for Dylan?
Well, that's why I wanted to tap into your experience on what conservatism is now. I, like many, was a Republican until 2016. And now that I see us nationalizing Intel, Trump firing someone from the Fed with no basis, wanting to basically set interest rates, allowing the president to make billions of dollars from the presidency and institute tariffs around the world, what does fiscal conservative mean anymore?
It means something that doesn't exist in the current Republican Party or the White House. Trump is not a conservative president. Trump is a socialist. He is a right-wing socialist, insofar as he wants total consolidation of power in his hand, in the government's hands, under his direction. So every single thing that a traditional conservative would criticize about a Bernie government or a Mamdani mayoralty or any sort of the sort of knee-jerk criticisms of the left or the deeper left in terms of wanting consolidated control of the government and allocation of resources, all of those behaviors are being exhibited, whether it's the 10% interest in Intel, whether it's the desire to control every aspect of the budget process, it's the desire to actually control what interest rates are, which, by the way, I'm actually hopeful that Trump does get control of the Federal Reserve, because he will very quickly learn that the Federal Reserve doesn't control interest rates. What will happen is Trump will take over the Federal Reserve, and the Federal Reserve will cut interest rates, and rates will go up. and everybody's going to
Explain that.
lose their mind, because the only thing the Federal Reserve actually controls is the overnight lending rate. So the banks lend each other money. Financial institutions, not just banks, lend each other money every night to resettle their accounts. So I'm -1, you're +1, and so I need $1. You lend me $1 for the overnight so that our books are even, and the rate, that lending rate is set by the Federal Reserve. But the lending rate 2 years out in the bond market, 5 years out in the bond market, 7 years out in the bond market, 10 years out in the bond market. How long is a mortgage? A mortgage is 30 years out. Okay. Sure. And so that's what they call the long end of the bond curve. Now, the long end is based not on what the Federal Reserve does. The long end is based on perceptions of the integrity of the United States of America, inflation, and perceptions of future economic growth. And there could be nothing that is more destabilizing to long-term expectations than a president taking over the central bank and arbitrarily setting interest rates, which will immediately cause interest rates at 7, 10, and 30 years to go up, not down, which will then create a spike in mortgage rates and a spike in long-term lending rates, which will be the exact opposite of what Trump imagines he wants to create. Because the bond market rates are not set based on what a person wants. Rates are set on a multi-trillion-dollar daily mathematical calculation of all of the information in the world, aggregating the total growth rate, inflation rate, and perceived stability of the United States. And that all gets compromised when a single individual takes over the central bank. I think it would be a good thing, because I'd like to get it over with, because everybody's going to flip their can.
But that's awfully nihilistic of you. I mean,
No,
in other words,
because it'll happen. It'll snap right back. It's the same reason the tariffs went away. He's like, oh, we're going to tariff everybody at 50, 100%. Okay. And then 2 weeks later, the bond market's like, okay, rates just went up more than they've gone up in 30 years. And all of a sudden the Treasury Secretary and Peter Navarro and everybody's in there like, you got to call this thing off, because this whole thing's flipping over. And next thing you know, pausing it. Next thing you know, the tariffs 10 to 15%. It's not 50%. It's not 100%. What should be happening is it should be the Congress providing resistance to the president as a conservative force, saying consolidating power under one person and taking over companies is the opposite of conservatism. This is not conservative. This is right-wing socialism. This Congress is not doing that. So then the central bank is there, is the next backstop. And he's like, I'm going to take over the central bank. So if you blast through the Congress, no resistance, and then you blast through the central bank, no resistance. The final point of resistance is the bond market, and there is no political force that can stop it.
But I want to ask you why markets are at an all-time high. Inflation is largely under control. The disaster that just about every economist on the planet predicted has not happened. Why?
Because everybody understands that Trump talks a lot, but what he's actually doing is not nearly as bad as what he talks about doing. One, and two, the market would be much higher than it is right now if it was not for the chaos of the Trump administration. And what you're seeing a version of a market that's being propelled by the biggest technological revolution ever in the form of AI that is much bigger than what anybody comprehends. And you're seeing a market that is being propelled by relatively stable interest rates and a strong labor market. But what you're not seeing is how much stronger the market would be if it was not for some of the chaos in the White House and the tariffs and all the rest of that.
But do you think it's going to come home to roost? I mean, do you think we just haven't seen the full effects of the changes that Trump's made? Because the tariffs haven't gone away. I mean,
and I don't think that here's my problem. I'm going to be honest, not to get all crazy for you. I don't think the tariffs are a bad thing. I think a small level of tariff is a good thing.
Great.
I don't mind
happy for you to make that point, but I guess I'm saying that we haven't seen the full effects of it yet.
Of course not. No, we have not seen the full effects of it yet. And so the one thing I would take issue with, Dave, is the jury is still out on where inflation will get us.
Fair. It hasn't spiked, I guess, is my point.
It has not yet spiked, although we did get a hot number in June, and everybody's going to want to see the CPI and PPI numbers in September. But to Alisyn's point, it'll take 18 months to move through the system.
And so, Dylan, just quickly tell us, why do you like tariffs, and at what level do you like them?
I mean, I like the 10% because I do believe that it's it is good to incentivize domestic production. I believe that the worst tax in the world is income tax. I hate income tax for everybody, and I hate that America taxes income. I think we should I don't mind taxing imports, and I would also if I was the tax god, I would do an estate tax, and I would do tariffs, and I would do I would do 3 taxes: a consumption tax, like a luxury tax. You want to buy a Porsche, you want to buy $100 million house in the Hamptons, you're going to pay a big tax on that. If you want to invest and you want to earn money, no taxes. I would tax income last. I would tax investment last. I would tax consumption, imports, and dying. I think investment and income are something you want to encourage. I think generational wealth transfer to people that have no qualifications to manage the money is not good for society. And I think that's the difference. The difference in America and Europe is that we're like, people should compete for money to have good ideas, not just because they're from the right family, which is why Europe is in total decay. And I think that consumption and tariffs are not a bad place to consider taxes as well. But that's a whole
Dylan
nother.
Ratigan for Fed Chair. One more finance question from me, which is the whole woke DEI movement seems to have hit a screeching halt in terms of companies and corporations across the country. Have they learned their lesson?
Yes. I mean, social movements are best advocated for by social institutions. When financial institutions or shareholder institutions adopt social positions, it's always going to end badly. I don't care if it's a left-wing social position, a right-wing social position, that mixing aggressive social positioning with economic entities, I always think is a doomed proposition. I think the reason that it's happened is because I think there's been such a decline, such a failure of American social institutions, and the corporation has become so powerful that it basically functions as if it was a social institution. So it's like, well, what does the CEO of Disney think is the right policy as it relates to whatever some social issue, when that social issue really is better resolved in a church or in a community center or a mayoral town hall, not in a boardroom, in my opinion. And I think that you saw that with the blowback on the DEI stuff.
So, Dylan, seriously, I mean, Dave just said Dylan Ratigan for Fed Chair. Have you considered ever running for office? I
I
forget.
did run for office in 2018 and was roundly annihilated as a white male at a time when white males were not a tolerable manifestation of human form.
Well, you guys are back, baby.
But
You
maybe
white guys are back. So now is your opportunity, Dylan.
I
But
moved
I
to
remember
Italy.
that
I'm
it did
out. I'm
jog.
Italian. I live in Milan. I don't know if you heard.
I did hear, but you're not Italian, Dylan
Okay.
Ratigan.
Maybe I'll run for. I could be. I just got to marry an Italian lady.
Which should not be hard for you.
Which, by the way, guess which one I could marry? The prime minister is available. I'll go straight in it.
I was excited.
Next thing you know, I'll be at the G7. What's that?
He's a touch conservative for you, if I recall.
I'm flexible when it comes to
You
romance.
are. You're very flexible with romance. But
imagine
Dylan,
him at the G7 as the first boyfriend of the Italian prime minister. Sorry,
that's a good idea.
But
I remember that run for office. What did you run for?
Congress.
Okay. I mean,
But
nobody.
it was the year of the woman.
Wow, do you have really thrown that under the bus now? Wow,
It was a
Dylan.
bad call.
Dylan, don't be a dummy. Nobody wins their first time. If you really, I mean, do you like the idea of politics? Do you like the idea?
No, I don't.
He's selling shoes, man. And listen, I thought this was going to be the best shoe I saw today.
Until you saw this, baby.
Colorado Jordans.
Until you saw this. Look at this. You want to look at
Tell me about these shoes, bro.
Look at this. Look. You understand this? Look at that. Are you kidding me? Does Nike give you 1 inch of memory foam? You're floating around. You're an inch taller. The ladies are looking at you because you're so tall. They don't even understand that you got a lift in there, a memory foam. This thing's hand stitched by Italian shoemakers in Venice. This is a original piece of artwork. You got here. Look at the hand stitching, Dave. You see that? That's an Italian hand. 1 by 1. You see that? That's not some Chinese hand. That's an Italian hand.
So what's the brand called? What's the brand
called?
Hold on, Dylan. You have a ton of different ones too.
I got a ton of them. I got another one here. Look at this thing. Are you kidding me?
Are you who's doing the designs?
This thing's on sale. I should be charging $5,000 for this thing. You're lucky you can get your hands
How
on
much
it.
are you
I'll get
charging?
it for only $500. I mean, it's way down from the 5,000 that I was trying to go for originally. Look at this thing. Are you kidding me? These are all emerging original artists. And then we work with a team of designers in Milan who then go to the factory in Venice. I mean, I'm showing you the craziest designs. I have ones that are more civilized and normal, like just like a brown and a black and a white and all the rest of it. But they're less exciting for fancy podcasts like yours. So I really brought the razzle dazzle for you guys, because if I just showed you the white one or the black one, you'd be like, what's the point? But the point is, it's extremely comfortable, extremely stylish, extremely awesome. It's not Golden Goose. It's not Xenia. I call it's Brunello Cucinelli on the outside and Nike on the inside. That's my elevator pitch.
Just wow. Wow. I like that. I also like that
Could
your tagline is extremely awesome.
Could I pull those off though, Alisyn? Be honest. Because I don't feel like I can.
Dave in jeans and a white t-shirt with these? Come on.
Do you see her face right now?
You said absolutely. Listen, don't make me get up and go to the other room and get like the boring gray ones.
You could do these, Dave. But Dylan, don't you think you need to send me some that I can wear around and be your walking billboard?
I do need to send you some that you can wear around and be my walking billboard.
I thought they were just men's.
No, there's men's and women's.
Yeah.
I mean, again, if I knew this was going to be a full show and tell, I got a whole suitcase in the other room, but I don't want to overrun the Sanity. It would become the Insanity podcast when all of a sudden I'm running too many shoes through here.
Well, when I saw Dylan in the Hamptons recently, we met at an Italian restaurant,
St.
and
Ambrose.
he had a bag.
St. Ambrose in Southampton, because that's the kind of people we are. Sorry, go ahead.
Fancy people.
Mm-hmm.
He had a bag of fabulous looking sneakers. And do I call them sneakers, or are they?
Yeah, you call them sneakers. You can call them sneakers.
And
that rainbow one, that women's rainbow, amazing.
Yeah, I like them.
The Sugar Lips Kiss. Are you kidding me?
Sugar Lips Kiss.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, man of many talents.
And then you got your goat leather. You got a variety of leathers. You got your suede. You got your Italian calf skin. But then when you get that goat leather going, the problem is now I drive around, like I come up to see you guys in Connecticut and I drive by the farm and I see like some goats. And I think to myself, maybe I should snag one of those things. That's probably like 20 pairs of shoes right there.
So when you drive by a farm, you just see sneakers in your mind. Like
sneakers.
Your thought bubble just turns to sneakers as you look at livestock.
I'm like, I could probably make a lot of shoes with that little bugger right there.
Wow, Dylan. Wow.
But I have to keep that. So those are some of the thoughts that maybe are best kept to myself. Can I promote the website since we're talking sneakers?
Go.
Yeah, do it.
So it's Euphoria with the Italian spelling, EUFORIA. You can say it with me, Euphoria. 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 Euphoria sneakers.
Euphoria.
Euphoria.
I was just in Italy and I think I said grazia wrong. Is it
grazie?
Grazie.
Grazie, not grazia.
I keep fucking that up.
Grazie. But I got to tell you, can I tell you a really, really inappropriate thing? But I'll try not to use any really inappropriate words.
Definitely.
Why wouldn't you use the inappropriate words?
You're about to hear why.
Let's go.
I'm scared.
So you've heard of the phrase tutto bene?
Tutto bene, all of it, like beautiful, all
good,
beautiful.
all good. Tutto bene, tutto bene, tutto bene, tutto bene, all good. Well, the problem with the Italian language, with basically every single word in the Italian language, is you change one letter and it's a sexual reference, which is basically how the Italians operate. And so there's tutto bene, all good, but then there's ciuccio bene, which is a interaction that happens between men and women that you're saying is good.
Which one?
Well, I'll leave that to your imagination. This is not.
Come on, man. We're not on CNBC.
I mean,
which one?
It's I really don't feel comfortable saying. I'm not gonna. I feel like I have some.
Wow. I didn't know Dylan Ratigan had a line. Dave, congratulations. You have reached the line of where Dylan is uncomfortable. I've never seen it.
You could
I am.
I'm so happy to know that you have a line that you are
Are you kidding me?
uncomfortable
I
crossing.
am a gentleman and a scholar. I
Thank
am a well-intended fellow.
I was going to go back to politics, but I just don't know if I can do it now because I brought a soundbite, Alisyn. I
Okay.
brought a soundbite.
Wow.
What?
I just don't know if we can go back
I
to.
don't
No,
think we
you have
can.
to. You have to. You're a professional.
We'll close with this because this is what I can't figure out because Democrats clearly have no clue how to fight the guy in the Oval Office, whether it's snatching people off the street with masked agents, whether it's making billions of dollars, selling access to himself, whether it's acting like an authoritarian, whether it's putting the National Guard in DC, whether it's being in the Epstein files. I don't have time to go through all the shit that he was pulling off and normalizing. And then he says he can do anything he wants. I'm the president of the United States. He says, I'm going to lock you up if you burn the flag, even though it's constitutionally protected. And then the whole Putin thing, and he says this.
And I just sent a picture from somebody that wants to be there very badly. He's been very respectful of me and of our country, but not so respectful of others. But I'm going to sign this for him, but I was sent one, and I thought you'd all like to see it. That's a man named Vladimir Putin, who I believe will be coming, depending on what happens. He may be coming, and he may not, depending on what happens. We have a lot of things happening over the next couple of weeks. But I thought it was a nice picture of him.
Is this
What
SNL?
the fuck just
Are we watching
happened?
SNL?
What was he saying about that picture?
The main thing was he was so proud that Vladimir Putin sent him a picture of them and how Putin looked.
So he was saying that
great.
Putin sent him the picture,
Yes,
and he was proud of that.
Number one, what would Republicans do if a Democrat president did any of the things I just listed? And two, how did Democrats not know how to fight this guy?
I'll answer your second question first. Paying attention to Donald Trump in any way, shape, or form helps Donald Trump. The only way to defeat Donald Trump is to pay attention to America. Like if I'm Gavin Newsom or any of these people that are like, angling for this job, Pritzker in Illinois is another one. The more that those aspirants ignore Trump and focus on America, the better they will do, is my opinion.
So then what do you think of the Gavin Newsom strategy, which has been trolling him in all caps and Trumpian language and printing up Trumpian merchandise?
I think it helps Trump. I think all attention to Trump, positive or negative, is good for Trump.
Well, but I think this is a little different, Dave. A little different because Gavin Newsom is taking a satirical page from Trump, but he's not. I don't think he talks about Trump much. He's doing this wink, wink
It's a
thing.
mocking thing, like
He's
the,
mocking.
with,
He's
with,
mocking
like,
him,
this,
using his own.
this is all I have to say on that matter, GJC or whatever. Like that kind of makes me laugh. Actually, I will say,
Me too.
I find it entertaining.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that he's doing it in a slightly more sly way than.
I agree with that. Then I'll modify my answer. I believe taking Trump seriously and responding to him as if he was serious empowers him. I think that in the case of Newsom, in the fact that he's like, this cannot and should not be taken seriously. This is a joke. And this man should be treated like an idiot. Maybe a more effective.
So you think he's the guy? And that's my last question, I swear. You think Gavin Newsom's the guy?
I listen, I've known Gavin personally since we were in our 20s. I've known him and I like him a lot, and I would love to see him win and all the rest of that. I don't see how a California politician can win in America. So honestly, I would rather see Pritzker lose some weight, because I also don't think a fat person can win.
Me neither.
And so I think Pritzker's probably better qualified as a candidate if he just lost, he just needs to run some Ozempic.
You think a fat Democrat can't win because a fat Republican won twice.
Yeah, but Trump's identity is not like the first thing you see with Trump is not that he's fat, but it's on the second pass. You're like, I think he's fat.
Promised. Dylan is unvarnished. Okay.
Ratigan Briggs ticket is going to be strong. I don't know what party, but we're going to have some fucking
the keg
fun.
party.
Well, but the new thing, because now, the only status symbol now is muscles, because skinny is for sale. Like skinny used to be a status symbol because it implied discipline, it implied consistency.
But now anybody can have it.
Skinny's for sale. Now skinny means there's no status in skinny. Now it's all in the muscle.
Oh, that's good. Or maybe fat will come back.
Let's see the guns then.
I'm not going to get into that. I'll do it. We have to.
That's awesome. Dylan, it's always a wild ride with you, and a wild entertaining ride. And
Yeah.
I really appreciate
Imagine
that.
if you were wearing Euphoria sneakers.
I
Then
can't.
it would be an even more fun ride.
My feet can't even imagine that level of splendor.
Well,
So please send me some.
soon enough, they'll be living it.
We enjoyed it, brother. This was fun.
Have
Let's
me
do it
back.
again.
Have me back.
Anytime.
All right.
Tutto bene.
Chucho bene. Chucho bene.